Hi, in this video, we are going to look at the expenses model of the iKrateSuite POS system. So looking at the expenses model, we have four main menu items under it. That's the new expense, expenses list, new category, and category list. So first of all, we'll look at new expense. Just as the name suggests, new expense means you're recording a new expense that you have incurred. So for instance, if you just paid your utility bill, any of your utility bills, you can come here and document exactly what you paid for so that this will keep records of all your expenses. One thing worth noting is category. So for instance, you have to create various categories so that you can easily document them and segregate the expenses. So for now, the default categories are rent, electricity bill, water bill. But we'll quickly look at how to add on categories. So the first thing you want to do is to set the dates, or yes, the date that this expense is being incurred. So if it happens to be the exact date that you are, it will automatically be selected, but you can either backdate or choose a date ahead. But it won't make sense to choose a date ahead if the expense has not already been incurred. So you choose the appropriate date, then you select the appropriate category. So let's assume I'm paying for my rent, then expense for, so you give a small description. So let's say 2021 house or office rent, then the exact amount for which the exact amount that is incurred. So let's assume I paid a sum of 20,000 Ghana cedis. So I just write 20,000 Ghana cedis. And if you happen to have any receipt for the expense, you can document any receipt or invoice for that expense. You can document the number here or any other number that will be relevant to the expense that you incurred. You can document it here. You can as well write any notes. So for instance, if the rent I have paid, but I'm left to top up to let's say 10,000 cedis more, then I can write the outstanding balance to pay is, and write the value there. So let's say 10,000 Ghana cedis. Then I can go ahead and save the expense. So that's exactly how you save the expense. So automatically after saving it, you come to the expenses list. Basically, the expenses list gives you a list of all the expenses that have been incurred, and the same way that you documented it at the new expense, as you can see, the dates comes first, the category of the expense, your reference number, what the expense was for, the amount or the total amount incurred, then the outstanding or the notes that you leave behind, and who added the expense. So if you have multiple users of the software, you will see who recorded that particular expense. And when you come to expense list, as we are now, you can either edit this particular expense or you can delete that expense. Okay, so now let's go to new category. For the new category, is basically adding an expense category. As we saw earlier, with the expenses, we have categories that will classify or categorize the various expenses in order for easy identification. So for instance, with the example we did, we chose rent. Therefore, all expenses that are related to rent will be accumulated as such. So you can create any sort of expenses. Let's say rent is basically accommodation. So let's use something else. Transportation. So let's say I have a particular expense called transportation. then you give a description to that particular expense so that everybody can understand what the expense is. So let's say this refers to all costs incurred which are related to traveling for business related stuff. Okay, so let's assume that's the description I'm giving. Then I can go ahead and save it. Okay. So this also brings us to the categories list. And as you can see, the name of the category is here, the description of the category. Then you can take action, either you edit or delete. Another thing worth noting here is the status of the category. With the status, once you see it's active, it means when you are entering a new expense, you are going to find this particular category as part of the list of categories. But the moment you inactivate it, as I've just done, so you inactivate it by clicking directly on the active, and by so doing, it will no longer appear in the expense category. So basically, this is how to record your various expenses and keep track of them. When you come to the reports part, so you'll be able to report on all the expenses that has been incurred by the company. So here you set the date for which the expenses has been incurred, and you can also sort the expenses according to the categories, or you can decide to use all. So either select all or you choose the particular expense category that you want to see. So you can show, and as you can see, this days on, that's from today's date to today's date. That's what we have set. But you can set a very huge interval, any interval at all that you want. You can set that and show the expenses. But for now, this is the only expense we have, and it gives you the total expense incurred during that period of time that you have decided to check. So this brings us to the end of the video on expenses. I'll see you in the next video.